what's up, everybody? I'm Chef Jourdan-Cha'Taun, and you are now tuned in to Chefish. Today, we have my friend, a restaurateur, private chef, catering company, and event planning owner. You know what I'm saying? Chef Aleem Wall is here for Chefish today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. You know, I was going to be here as soon as you called. I'm here.
I got him in between a busy schedule. So actually today is like your off day, but even on your off days, I feel like you're always working
doing
anyway.
something. But I appreciate the invite and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. He's one of my good friends and we'll get into that later. But just to tell y'all a little bit about Chef Aleem, he is from Washington, D.C., born and raised. And he actually, in his younger years, went to a performing arts school. And naturally, you would think somebody's going for music or dancing. But his interest was culinary arts. So a seed was planted in his mom's kitchen. So as Chef Aleem was growing, you know what I'm saying? He was in the streets a little bit, you know what I'm saying? Figuring himself out. And he actually started having kids at a really young age, right? And so being a father is a really big focus of his story. And unfortunately, his children's mother passed away and the kids were really young. So, you know, Chef Aleem was cooking in and out back then, but wasn't really taking it serious because he felt like it wasn't a serious career path, wasn't really lucrative. But when she passed away, it was like, now he's a single father. He got to get stuff figured out. He can't be out here running these streets. So he veered back in to cooking. And ultimately, he went down to Atlanta and studied at Le Cordon Bleu in Tucker, Georgia. And he opened up a little to-go spot and started making a name for himself in Atlanta. And he forged a friendship with 2 Chainz early on in 2 Chainz's career. You know what I'm saying?
Titty boy day.
And ultimately, they forged a friendship and Chef Aleem stepped more into the private chef industry. And he's worked with 2 Chainz, Rick Ross, Justin Bieber, you know what I'm saying? Just a little, you know, just a few of them, you know, but he's definitely worked for more. And now he owns Plated Lounge in Atlanta. He has Plated Pleasure Catering and Events services. You know what I'm saying?
She definitely did her homework.
You know, I don't take it. Hey, it's an honor to have anybody sitting on the couch with me. Anybody that sits on the couch with me I'm a fan of or a friend. So it's always genuine admiration. You know,
same here.
Everybody ain't gonna be here.
Hey.
You know what I'm saying?
Same here.
Everybody ain't gonna be here. No, I'm just playing. But I'm serious. So that's a little bit about your history. So welcome to Chefish.
Thank you very much.
And for my chefies out there wondering how does Chef Aleem and I know each other, Instagram. Instagram.
Right.
So we had followed each other for years. Back when I was working with Floyd was when you had started. We started following each other. So it's been a really long time. And by the time I moved to Atlanta, I've been here 7 years now. It's
been that long.
Yes.
Damn.
Ooh, time is
7 years.
7 years. So
I remember when you first got here.
I know.
Damn.
So when I first moved here, just like Virgil, I met up with you and we've been friends ever since. And now that I've introduced you in your own words.
Right. Yeah. Hey, let me tell you something. First of all, I'm impressed to hear that. But I mean, she pretty much, we 98%. It was just one little correction is when I was in performing arts school, I actually was there for drama.
Okay.
It was called Duke Ellington Performing Arts School in D.C.
Shout out to Duke Ellington in D.C.
Yeah. I was in the same class as Dave Chappelle, Lamont Rucker, a few of us. We went to high school together. As a matter of fact, I used to, sometimes me and Dave used to ride the bus together to the comedy clubs after school sometime. He was real young and they used to sneak us in, but we have to leave right away because, you know, the alcohol was being so.
Right.
We weren't really allowed in there, but they actually let him sneak in, do a couple of jokes. And we used to ride the bus home after that. It was a crazy time. But I never really saw myself being a chef or cooking for a living, by no means, growing up in D.C., but I always was attracted to cooking. For example, it was never, when I was young, there was no Food Network or anything, but we still had shows like, there was a guy called The Frugal Gourmet, this little skinny guy with glasses, and we had
I'm going to have to get my Googles on.
Oh, you don't remember him? Oh, it was a while ago. No, it was a show called The great chefs of the world. And it was narrated by this monotone lady who would be a lot of chefs from Spain or France, and they would cook meals that I was never interested in copying or cooking, but it would hold my attention to watch it.
Right.
It was wowed me from the start to the finish. And then, my mom cooking all the time. I would be sometime in the kitchen watching her talking and just watching her, but I never still equated it to me becoming a chef.
Right.
But then, like you say, when I got it, I always was interested in alternative lifestyle though, but more like herbal healing and whatnot. And I never equated food to being medicine though. Or even healing with food. Okay. I just knew that nutrition was important, but I never saw the parallel. Okay. But when I started having children, I think I had my first son when I was 20, and I definitely was committed to raise them on, fast food and whatnot. So it made me, I got a few books and just things I learned from my mom. I just started cooking, and I raised them vegetarian when they were young. I wasn't going to force certain things on them that they can do on their own later. Right. And then actually what brought us to Atlanta was my uncle was starting a company here at the airport, a skycap company, the first black-owned skycap company, and he wanted my father, was his brother, to help run it. Okay, so what's a skycap company for people? That's the people who kind of check the bags, greet you at the first people you see at the curbside or behind the counters that deal with mainly your baggage check-in and handling. Yeah, we were kind of the first ones to kind of be a black-owned company to get a foothold in that part of the airport. Okay. So that made us come down for family business. And then just from there, my uncle sold that eventually, and he got into transportation, and we started doing other things just as a family. Okay. And then, unfortunately, my kid's mom was diagnosed with cancer kind of soon after we got here. And
I'm sorry to hear that.
It was a little, it was rough at the time, but, you kind of... And my kids were still small. So I had to figure out, and me just being a hustler by nature, how can I still be a hustler, but not put myself in danger of jail or death when all my kids got is me now? Right. So, that was kind of rough. And then the ironic thing about that statement was I had got incarcerated right here on Rice Street. It was something kind of stupid, but the time I was there, the TV's always on something crazy like Maury Povich or Jerry Springer or football on Sundays. But there was a commercial that just kept popping out. I'm playing cards or working out or doing something. It was the Cordon Bleu Culinary Art School coming to Atlanta. And I didn't pay attention to shit else on this TV. Sorry, my language. And then all of a sudden, the Cordon Bleu, it was day or night. So I said to myself, people say you can cook, but you still know it's more to earn than living from cooking and just being able to throw a few dishes together. So I'm going to go up here and see what these people talking about. But the crossroads was I was a little older. So for me to take on school at the time, a heavy tuition like that, and somebody helping me with my children, I had to really be committed to it. Right. I couldn't waste nobody's time who's going to be involved in helping me, as well as my own time, my kids' time, because we could be doing something else. Right. It's almost a 2-year commitment at almost $40,000. Yeah. I'm in my 30s. Mm-hmm. So, you know what I'm saying? So, but once I made a decision, I went there, I was impressed, I started it, and then, but with that commitment, I finished at, I think it was almost perfect GPA, but they wasn't going to give it to me a perfect one. But it was a good experience because I felt like I was kind of behind the 8 ball on time. I started getting jobs in the culinary industry at high-end restaurants with high volume so that I could be growing the resume as well as the degree at the same time. Okay. So I could hit the ground running. Because it's real humbling when you walk in with your little chef jack and your degree on, and you got, Hispanic brothers who never touched a foot in school but can cook circles around you. Oh, man, they're cutting their... They're prepping food in no time. It's real humbling when you think you know it all because of your little degree, and you got people who really... So I wanted to get that experience at the same time. So I found a few of the top restaurants back then that I could be a part of and did externships at those places. So I could, when I got out of there, have a little footing. Right. So... how did you transition from being a culinary graduate to a private chef for celebrities? Well, when I first left school, like anything, it's a crossroad. It's a decision that what do you want to do, whatever. But like I say, one thing that really helped me was, it's almost like the barber and beauty schools. At some point, people call up, like, how some people can come get free or cheap haircuts. Uh-huh. On their way out of the door. It's kind of like the last stage where they really giving cuts to the public. Okay. people would call to the school and ask for, can people do small catering jobs?
Okay.
Can you recommend somebody who's probably good enough? And one of the people I had a relationship with in the finance office called and said, hey, somebody just called about a job. It was a company called Brock Belt Construction. They still here in Atlanta.
Okay.
Big construction company. They had a Christmas party for 300 people.
Okay.
I have never catered in my life. I've never done anything similar. But I was like, shit, 300 people. So I went and...
You said yes?
Yes. Well, I went and met them, and I set up a tasting for them.
Okay.
And tasting I did on my dollar, and I wowed them with the tasting. So now I was like, again, I didn't think I was going to get it, but I was just trying.
Right.
So when they said, well, okay, now what's the next step? I said, okay, I'll call you tomorrow. I ran back to the school, and I talked to some of the chefs who I knew I trusted and gave me advice on how to price it, how to shop it, how many people I had no idea on how to cater at all.
Right.
I just knew I wanted to do it, and it would show me if I really can do this shit or not. So I hired a few of my classmates.
Had your staff?
Yes, 3 of them.
The hustler.
One of them was married to a real estate guy.
Okay.
And they had a nice house with a big kitchen. So I rented out their kitchen.
Nice.
And I got one of the chefs to tell me how to kind of price it. I hooked up a deal with Cisco. This all on the fly.
On the fly.
On the fly. We started on a Wednesday. The job was on a Sunday. And it was 4 of us. And by the time we got to Sunday, I had a dessert table. I had everything set up. 300 people, and we were the only black people in the building, which was another little bit of pressure. But the point was that I was committed for the first person to the last person to have the same type of experience as far as the food. And it went over great. They loved it.
We love that.
They gave us a written appreciation letter, and that kind of gave me a little confidence to go. And then not only the fact that the checks cleared, and it was unbelievable that people pay this amount. It gave me real attraction to the business,
right,
and a little bit of confidence at the same time. So that kind of, got my feet wet into being a caterer.
Right.
But, when I first got out, I lived in an area where there was a Jamaican restaurant that my boys and me liked Jamaican food, and we would shop a lot. And over the months, I got a relationship with them. And make a long story short, she was ready to go for personal reasons. Okay. And she needed somebody to take over the restaurant, and I was interested. It was a carryout, like you said. Right. And it was close to the house. It was super good. When I say close, I mean like a mile away. And
we love alignment. Make it easy. Right. Make it easy. Right. I just gotta roll out a bit. You know what I'm saying? So, it was a chance for me to, and I kind of was interested in, I was already attracted to Caribbean flavor and kind of like Latin fusions. I was already attracted to that. So I kept some of the Caribbean things on the menu and, infused it with some American things. And the reaction was, mixed, where people would be like, man, this is so good. We would like to sit down and enjoy this with a glass of wine or whatever. But I'm still thinking like, whatever, but it kept happening. And then people in the neighborhood. And you mean to tell me you had your own business that was up, running and functional, and you was still like, because half in, half out. We still a carry out. So it's not about, I still, I'm still building confidence. It's one thing I'm giving to your styrofoam, but people talking about they want to sit down and enjoy this. And, they give you ideas. And so at the end of this lease of the carry out, I was stumbled across another spot in College Park, Georgia, right, on Old National. Mm-hmm. And this is kind of like how I met 2 Chainz, because this was a sit down place, but it still was, it wasn't fancy, but it was still nice for that area. Right. And there's nothing over there that's chef driven. And that's why I'm attracted to the south side of Atlanta a lot, because I got a lot of love from over there. And there's really no chef driven. There's a lot of restaurants, but nothing really chef driven. There's a lot of cooks or just define chef driven for people that's tuned in that don't know what that means.
Well, there's a real chef in the kitchen who's kind of orchestrating the menu creation, the sourcing of the food. The whole kitchen is really controlled and operated by a chef, somebody who is trained to lead a kitchen as well as food preparation, safety, all the qualifications. Right. And, that's what really separates, a lot of people sell the same shit in Atlanta. Lamb chops, salmon, the list is the same. Right. But sometimes it's still, you can still tell the elevation or the creativity into that sometimes just by the level of training and commitment. Like anything else. People rapping, singing, dancing, you can tell the commitment by what you get from the product. Right. Yeah. So again, but now I got a sit down place, and it's going great. People loving it. The South Side, I'm introducing them to new proteins, vegetables. The relationship is great. And my sister Divine, is how shit works. All the way to the other end of Old National, down by where Holyfield used to live. She used to manage the Bank of America down there.
Okay.
And 2 Chainz had personal accounts there. Okay. And safe deposit box, everything. She was managing his finances. And she would just tell him about her brother's restaurant that's at the other end. And their studio was in the middle. So I'm at the beginning, his studio in the middle, and the bank at the end. So at some point, he came down and gave it a try and introduced, and and this is back in the Titty Boy. He wasn't as famous then. But long story short, he used to drink lean and rap about it, but mainly he drunk it because he felt that it would ease his
digestion issues.
You're right. So he felt, and he used to say that, man, when I eat your food, I don't really feel like I need to run to that shit as much as I used to.
Right.
So I used to joke with him and say, man, when you blow up, and I never really even heard a dude. I never really knew his music. But when I got over there, I heard of him, Right. But I never, and then I started listening. I was like, damn, I see why, he's known over here.
Right.
So, and then, honestly, I was like, bro, when you blow up, I'll be out there to take care of you.
Okay.
And then, now, long story short, I was the only thing about that side of town was the demographic is the same.
Right.
So, I'm trying to charge prices for fresh ribeye and fresh shit that I can't really charge over here because the demographic is just not supporting it.
Right.
So I was torn between when this lease is going up, I might have to change parts of town or just something so I can get a little mixture.
Right.
So when I was about to do that, at the same time that he was kind of getting bigger in the rap game, and he bought a tour bus from T-Pain that had a small kitchenette in it. And he came to me and was like, bro, before you make that move.
Okay, so for the starter, I know you started talking to me about your relationship with 2 Chainz picking up and him getting the tour bus. So what was that like when you actually went on tour with him?
Well, we first started on what they used to joke about calling it the chitlin circuit, because we would just go to little spots up and down the South from here to Alabama, Miami,
North Carolina,
right,
South Carolina.
Right, and it was like us testing it out. We would go on the weekend, we might leave Friday and come back Monday, and it was a chance for me to see if I could really stand in this little kitchenette and cook breakfast, lunch, and dinner, doing 60 miles an hour down the highway, just to see if it really, and then if it would make sense.
Right.
And then he used to start making little posts on his social media.
Right.
That kind of was taking a little life of his own at the same time.
Right.
And then Drake decided when he did a tour called Club Paradise, he wanted to take all of the new cats that was coming out at that time. It was Meek Mill, Waka Flocka, J. Cole, a lot of them, and 2 Chainz. And so when we jumped on that, it was a chance for me. I was wanting to take a breather from the restaurant anyway.
Right.
So I was like, okay, well, shit, let's give it a shot. And, we went out and did the Club Paradise tour. That was great. Then his album came out and we toured that. Then we did a international tour. We went to France and parts of Europe. Then,
so what is that really like when you actually are cooking on a bus? I know you vaguely touched on it, but for the chefies out there that think they want to get on the road, but they haven't been, what are some things that they should keep in mind for going on tour? What are the top 3 things? If you're going on tour, you just get it in, this is what you need to know. 3 things.
Be prepared for any situation. Know that you're not there to be these artists' friends, and be able to look ahead of anywhere you going and source whatever you need before you get there or as soon as you get there.
Ahead of time.
All right. If I only had 3, those would be the 3.
Those are the 3. Yeah, because when I did the play tours with Tyler Perry, first of all, I did that for a set. I was like, we need another chef for the play tour because I was doing the play tour plus working on set. So there was no off day. And then it was on set is 17, 20-hour days, and he does a lot of stuff. So, well, no, for him, I would just be there. But I had the experience of cooking on the buses.
Right.
And so when I was asking you that, I'm like, when he's saying come prepared, it means sometimes they don't really have kitchen areas. Tyler Perry had really nice kitchen areas on the bus.
Right.
I'm gonna let y'all know now. The buses was really nice. Okay. But when you are on the road and it's moving around, and when he's saying you got to be prepared, for me at least, I had multiple different luggage with me that had mobile kitchens in it.
Right.
And then the security, whoever's down on the ground first, like, yo, utilize one of the PAs, have the hotel deliver XYZ. You got to maneuver.
Always right. And you got to be, because these people, when they might say they hungry at any time. You got to be ready for that. And, and then that was, 2 Chainz, that was a rap tour. It's still a different environment. Like, it was all on one bus. I've got his security, him, hype man, DJ, all of us in one. And that's a cool vibe. But then at the same time,
I got to go home.
Right.
I need my own bus.
Yes, exactly.
I need the hotel, bro. I can't be around all y'all.
Right. But then when I get to a different type of artist, then that I have been experienced where I've had
when the bag look different.
I had my own tour bus one time with just me and a driver.
Well, different people's
with a full kitchen.
Parts of their career. You're talking about Justin Bieber?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. So it just depends on, and that make it a little easier, but it's still more stress with that. So it's,
So when you say more stress with that, what do you mean?
Well, of course, more expectation, more client demand, more travel, more being ready for any type of, because this guy specifically, he moved on a whim.
Right.
And it's a whole movement that got to go with him. And you get swept up in the movement. And if it don't look right, then he's quick, or they can be quick to say, look,
everybody got to go. Or
this one, we don't need this. You know what I mean? Or,
right.
And I'm not going to be the reason why I get this. Somebody else might try to sabotage, but it's not going to be me. Right. So I'm going to be ready for it. Let me give you one example, just one of what I mean.
We like examples. This is
a real example of you got to be on the fly or it can be over with quick.
Okay.
I'm with Justin. We taking a break from tour, and he decided to go to Japan. Actually, no, it's Japan. It's a tour date, but it's not like a real tour date. So we go to Japan. Now, most places I go, I got a rider at whatever hotel we staying, and there's a rider at wherever he's staying.
Right.
So they know I'm coming. I got a kitchen space. I sent all the things I need is there when I
You got
land.
your own little section.
Right. So, and this was agreed upon at this hotel. But when I get there, I don't know if it was because they saw me or whatever, but when they was like,
Black man.
No access to the kitchen. What the fuck are you talking about?
Oh, there is.
They told me racism. No access to the kitchen. So we trying to talk it out, work it out, and they still saying no. Now I know he upstairs, and any minute after he rests, he's about to work out and call me. So what I did, I said, hey, I can't wait no longer. I got a card from one of his managers. I said, look, I need a driver and I need somebody who speak English. And we got in the car and I found a superstore that sells kitchen shit. I got a couple of convection burners.
Made a mobile kitchen.
Yep. In my room. I got a convection burner. I got a cooler with ice. I got some pots, pans. In other words, everything I could use to build a kitchen in my room.
Right.
So with all the food stored in it, everything. So by the time he called me, I made every breakfast, lunch, and dinner in my room with the window open because there was no way I was going to get sent home or fired from my tour job on a side trip.
Right.
When I done bought this, why did I pay first class for him to fly here and he can't cook for me? He's not going to understand that the kitchen said he can't. All I know is my chef is here and he's supposed to be cooking for me.
Right.
So that's the perfect.
Yeah, at the end of the day, they don't really care.
Ain't no understanding.
They don't care.
So
they find a solution to the problem.
Yes, you got to figure it out. And that's all right, man. That's
figure it out and have my food ready on time.
Yes.
Because nobody cares. Okay, so I feel like that was a really good starter. So now we're going to get into the main course.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So when would you say that you really fell in love with food and decided like this is really going to be it? Like when did you just make that decision? Because it seems like it's like weaving in and out. When were you like, you know what? I'm really about to do this.
Be honest. When you say fell in love with food.
Yes.
And then sometimes I look at some of the people who consider super or great chefs of the world or whatever, and how they talk about, or there was sometime when I read what they write about food and how they can be so eloquent about their expression, it kind of make me go, do I really feel this shit? Like, is that why I'm not where I want to be? Like, it really make you like, do you really love, like, it kind of, because passion came from with me or some people, circumstances bring you to your life's work.
Okay.
And me losing my kid's mom and having to figure out how I can
be stable.
Yes. Propel that into I can hustle this.
Right.
But you fall in love because it can sustain your family? Are you in love with it for what it can do for you? Or, I mean, food has took me around the world. Food has opened doors for me that I would never imagine being open.
Right.
Still opening them.
But you wouldn't say that you're necessarily in love.
But now, yes. But I was just saying a moment or a time. It's just like it's an evolution of love. You know what I mean? Because, it's been times where it's just, I know I can do this. I do it good. So I'm doing it. I don't know if it's love. It's getting this shit done.
This is like, what else am I about to do?
Yes. So I'm not going to like lie and be capping all about love. It's just, I know that I was good at it. People say they taste and feel the love in it. That's why they keep coming back. So that humbles me. Sometimes it's brought tears to my eyes, but so they say they feel it and taste it, okay. But at the time, it's making sure that my car note or my kids can do what they got to do. You know what I'm saying? So I fell in love with that part of it. And then now when that's why even every day for my restaurant, I shop for it. So I can touch everything, see everything, have a relationship with the guy. So now I know it's a love.
Right.
Because I want to do that every day. Right. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to delegating it or ordering it from a truck. I go out and source it myself every single day.
Okay.
So I
love that.
So
we love that. Okay.
And
okay, chef.
and sometimes it's 5 hours. I might ride to one store for a seasoning 20 minutes away.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I still, and then it's all
because that's what you're paying for.
Yes, ma'am.
Because a lot of people are confused. What am I paying for?
Yeah.
It's like I had to go to 5 different stores.
Yeah,
to make
and I don't have nothing in my freezer. Everything's fresh. Yeah, nothing. Yeah, so and then just prices sky high right now.
So high, bro. Yeah. My food budget is always separate than my service fee budget. So,
and she ain't playing.
No, I don't do that all in. Okay, and yes. I need that first class flight. I need that.
Call when I get there, right?
I need my $100 a day for my per diem. I need to land 2 days in advance.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying?
And get shit squared away,
right? Because if you don't ask for it, they're not going to tell you. And then there's this pressure,
and they still gonna have those expectations.
Yes, they don't. And so at the end of the day, a closed mouth ain't never gonna get fed. Right. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you'll have clients where you got to push back, and you're like, well, why do I got to pay for that? Well, let me break it down for you and educate you, because
they don't know.
You got to let them know.
Yeah, and they understand.
And then they understand when you point it down black and white.
And they understand in their world, when you're going shopping for your diamonds, when you're going shopping for your luxury items, there's a whole breakdown, there's a whole surcharge for this, there's all type of understanding.
Right.
The people that you coming to see exclusively for you, when you close the doors, they letting you just be like, all that you paying extra for. And they have no problem with shut. Matter of fact, they proud of how much more they paid than everybody else. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's the same shit with us. You paying for this. You paying for somebody to exclusively do it for you.
Thank you.
Right. Who have qualifications to specifically do it for you.
Right.
Right.
Right. So I know that you've done restaurant consulting before you actually opened Plated Lounge.
Yeah.
So tell me what made you decide to take that lead.
That's another thing came out of circumstance. When I got off tour with Justin, I was still kind of on call, but at first he wanted me to stand in LA. Mm-hmm. But once he was moving around and getting, settled in with his wife and whatnot, I came back. And once people in Atlanta knew I was back, I started getting catering calls.
Right.
And, kind of at first they were moderate where I could do them in my personal space, but the kind of jobs, 100 or more, then, I can't do them in my personal space. And any help I don't want them in my personal space.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, so I started just looking.
You got to get that business right.
I had to look for places where I could set up a small kitchen or where I could work for. And I was just riding through East Point looking for something else, and I saw the sign. And I remember it used to be a restaurant there, and I just, long story short, I got it. And it was really just, it was big enough for a restaurant, but I just built the kitchen out. And I built a prep area downstairs. Yeah. Everything else was, I'll get to that. Right. I just been able to answer these calls. I got a clean kitchen that pass inspection and a prep area where I can sort out stuff. Then, hustling on days when we weren't doing catering, I just put on my page, hey, I'm selling plates for this amount. And me and my boys could hustle.
So you was kind of doing takeout again a little bit.
Yeah.
Until you got it situated.
Yeah. Just, saying we selling plates, some delivery, and I had a central location to pick them up now.
So do you kind of feel like essentially you really just got to start? sometimes you might not have it all figured out.
Yeah, you have
just
to.
gotta start.
Especially for us. Because when is it ever going to be enough money? When is it going to ever be enough free time? When is it ever going to be the kids still growing, still getting old, still need more shit? When is it ever going to be? You got to fit it in there and just go for it at some point and start wherever you at. You just have to.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The journey of a million miles start with the first step. But see, you got to... You still got to realize especially when you got a lot going on, is this for me? And don't take too much time fucking with something that ain't really for you. Get in it. If this not for me, and then not keep on hopping around. I don't mean that, but don't waste a lot of time on something that when you realize it's not for you though.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So considering the fact that you've been in the industry and cooking for over 20 years now, from start to where you are now. It's been a lifetime, brother. It's been a lifetime. You know what I'm saying? We ain't that young. We got a little dust on it. You know what I'm saying? Do you remember a time where you felt burnt out and where you were debating leaving the industry?
Had plenty of time. I still go through that shit now.
Tell it.
Yes. Because again, the restaurant evolved from all I was telling you. And then it's crazy because my oldest son was the executive chef for a restaurant used to be right down the street from here called Simon's.
Okay.
And then my other son was working at a hotel in the kitchen.
Right.
And then the crazy thing is both of their girlfriends were waitresses at different restaurants. Okay. So I'm like, wait a minute. What is going on here? Why don't we all come together? We got a spot now.
Right.
Y'all come home with horror stories about the day at work. The boys feel drained, underpaid. We see that we can sell these plates because we sell 50, 60 plates every time we put it on Instagram.
Right.
What the fuck? Let's just, you know what I mean? So we just slowly put a small menu together. I got a register. I set up with Square and we just slowly started opening the doors to a restaurant.
Okay.
And then it just evolved into what it is now. I came up with a concept I always had in my mind called Midnight Brunch.
Right.
Where at first my mind was just when people in our industry got off work and just wanted to wind down. People in the
for me, it will always be music and entertainment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. People cooking all day, servers, bartenders, strippers, whoever in late night.
Night.
Yeah. That was the plan, just for 12 to 5. And it just took a life of its own. Now, Friday and Saturday night, we do midnight brunch. It's the busiest time of the week. And you wouldn't believe by 12:15 midnight, it's packed until it tripped me out. I'm like, damn, I open at 5 and 6 during the day. I can't get nobody in here. Right. I open the doors at midnight and I'm packed from midnight to 5. They won't leave. It's unbelievable. But hey, whatever works.
Whatever works. Because you know what? It's an underserved market.
Yes, man. I see that now.
A lot of people can't afford to take that liability. You know what I'm saying? Because you actually have a relationship within the community, and a lot of people love and respect you and do have a real genuine they respect your space. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so they already you are part of the community, basically. It wasn't
and I use the community police right out front. So ain't no playing.
Right. But I really do believe that when you are of this, of the city, have relationships with everybody versus being a transplant like me. You know what I'm saying? Moving in, trying to open something up. You know what I'm saying? It's different. People respect you more when they know you. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
so I'm happy that you have brought up your family because this is a family business now.
Yeah.
So do you think that your sons ultimately will try to open up their own space, or do you guys just have a vision of growing the Plated Pleasure brand larger?
Well, I'm realistic. Even though I would love that and all that, I'm realistic. I just want, first, on a dad, it's a great thing to know where my 2 black boys are every single day.
Right.
And my grandkids around me as much as I can see them. And then we doing something positive and we can get a little bit of money from it.
Right.
And then, but my youngest son started Morehouse when he was 16 years old and he has a finance degree from Morehouse. But see, the thing about that is those places don't never teach you mom and pop mentality or numbers.
Okay.
They get you mentally ready for corporate.
Right.
They deal with those kind of numbers and those kind of formulas and mentality. So you take a certain kind of person to try to translate that and try to take it back to mom and pop and build mom and pop up to corporate.
Right.
So what I want to do is before my son lose interest, is to get us big enough to where he only handling the financial part of what we got going on.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? My son, oldest son he's interested and is an executive chef mentality. So that's why I do the shopping and they do the cooking now.
Right.
But, so again, my point is it's a springboard for whatever they want to do. I mean, even if it's not a lot of money, it's still, the other conversation is.
Well, you have to stop sending mixed messages into the world.
What you mean?
You saying that it's not a lot of money. It actually is a lot of money. You've made a lot more money than a lot of people could wrap their minds around.
Well, what I meant was for them. In other words, but the other part of it, conversation, is job security. When
right.
You know that this like you're not fired unless this closed down.
Right.
The comfort of knowing no stress and you have to be a certain way or you.
Restaurants are 97%, 98% fail rate.
Right. And we're on our 5th year. That's a blessing. 5
years. You know what I'm saying? So you wouldn't force it on them. They are here now. But if they wanted to leave, you would be totally fine with that.
Yeah, I mean.
But my thing is for the one that's the chef, do you think that he has aspirations of opening his own restaurant? Has he talked to you about that? Or is he fine with doing the family thing now?
I mean, I think he cool with just this growing and they blossoming into other things where it'll be his own anyway. I mean, that's really theirs. Mm. So I mean, yeah, he has ideas of his own things, of course. They got their own little catering brands and companies now that do their own thing. I push work their way so they can get reputation, you know what I mean, and build it. So yeah, I mean, I'm all for that. I would like to work for them. You know what I'm saying? Shit, like, not even playing.
We love it. We love it. Soon you will. You will. Okay, and so I know you did a cookbook mealtime with 2 Chainz. What was that experience like and how did that come about?
Well, after we started touring a little bit, he would start posting pictures on his
Instagram.
His Instagram. And I used to hate it because he'd be like, take a bite and then he'll do some shit and take a picture. I'm like, bro, let me start taking a picture and send them to you because this is crazy. But make a long story short, a lot of his peers in the industry used to start asking him like, hey man, you ain't making that shit. Where is all this food coming from? Because it's obviously in his lap on the bus. But so one time I remember he called me to his house and he was like, bro, I got an idea. He said, I'm thinking about doing a cookbook for the album. I said, man, what? I said, I'm cool with it as long as it's not like no gimmicky shit. Like, if it's really gonna really like do Make some, sense. Yeah, I'm whatever. So we kind of like left it alone for a minute. And then one time I was at his studio and he had just posted a picture of I think it was sea bass or something I made. And Snoop called his phone right when he took the picture. And he said, what you think Snoop want? I said, well, answer it. He ain't answered. But then I guess he called or talked back because when I was left, he called me and said, man, Snoop asked me, bro, man, send me some of the recipes. What is too little? He said he was going on about the food. So that confirmed that we should probably do this cookbook thing. Okay. So we kind of did something that kind of made it. The Def Jam said, make it simple so that his fans could follow it. And we kind of did like a recipe for every song on the album so they have a certain amount. Okay. I think it was maybe like 12 recipes of stuff that they kind of see him eat. Okay. That would be simple to prepare and whatnot.
We like that.
And then the catch was it was only available on the deluxe version to, kind of help push sale. And the deluxe version sold the most. So that was pretty cool.
Oh, nice. So do you think that you'll be coming out with your own cookbook?
I think about it. I got a few things put away just in case, but I'm a visual guy. So
why does it gotta be just in case though?
Well, true. But I mean, I just wanted to be something.
You got all that space. I mean, all you doing is grocery shopping and making, you know what I'm saying? Calling the plays in. Right. So why not make, you know what I'm saying? Money, books sell by themselves.
Yeah, you're right. So I mean,
what you talking about?
Things in the works.
Could be right on the website. Click the link.
Right.
But no, it's right there.
All right, so coming soon.
You heard it here first. Exclusive. We're going to be having Plated Pleasure.
Right.
The cookbook.
The
cookbook way. Okay, so can you tell me a little bit about balancing the budget when you're running a restaurant? Tell me 3 things that some of my chefies out there that want to open up a restaurant that they should know about balancing the budget. 3 top things.
Being in tune as much as possible to your food costs. Okay.
And explain what a food cost is. For those that don't know, because some people tuned in, they don't know.
Well, I mean, pretty much it have a broad meaning, but specifically I'm talking about just knowing how much you buying, how much you selling, and obviously you're a little bit in between because that's what you gotta delegate your life and everything else off of, that little bit in between. So the more you can get the food costs down and profits up,
the more you're able to walk with.
Exactly. And then if you have a bar or a liquor situation, you definitely got to be on top of that because more people involved in that. Now you got the government, you got the city, you got the state involved.
Okay, so for your third one, kind of tell me what was your budget like for opening the restaurant?
Well, in any business, obviously, you really want to spend or start with somebody else's money, whether it be...
Play with somebody else's money.
Right. But because I'm just the kind of person who, if I got it and I got the means, then, I'll definitely use some other people's money too, whether it be, in other words, bank, whatever. But you got to have a cushion, and the amount depends on the type of business you're trying to start.
Okay.
Right. But I would say you at least got to have a few times more than what the initial startup and a few months of operation. You got to at least have 4 or 5 times more of that, ideally. But that goes back to when we said earlier, sometimes you just got to start. Right. So, I mean, I don't mean just like, go take out a rent and something that you really can't even start with. But I mean, sometimes the bare means and a good idea and the drive to get started is all you need. And because then, you start attracting the people and things around you that just make it start to grow and get better. When you have a good energy, a good plan, and you're a solid person, those things are going to just start happening for you.
When they attracted to the light.
Exactly. But you guys got to remember, and especially in this business, that's why it shuts down so fast, because there's so many hidden expenses. You just don't really realize so many. You just think restaurant food, stove, oven, it's so much
liquor. You think it's all just going to be making money.
So many different type of insurances. There's the exterminator. There's the grease trap cleaners, the hood cleaners.
Whatever you think. Quadruple that.
Yes.
Do it times 5. It's not what you really thought, but also get started.
And yes, man. And that's where the word passion that you brought up earlier. Started. If you're not passionate, this is going to kick you out of it quick.
Right.
Because it's take more than passion when them bills and then people start knocking on the door.
So before we move on, I want to know, since you've been managing different teams and men and women in the kitchen, can you kind of tell me the differences that you see in being in charge of them? Like, do you notice changes
in
managing men and women, the differences, or how they operate in the kitchen?
Well, I've been blessed. The few women that I've worked with in the kitchen have been...
few, so it's not that many.
No.
That's unfortunate.
But I mean, that's because but that doesn't still mean that there's a lot in the industry. It's just that a lot of times the actual commercial kitchen industry is not necessarily attractive to most women because just the demands of it. Extremely hot, extremely loud, extremely aggressive. You know what I'm saying?
Are you being sexist right now?
No. I'm saying a lot of women would not.
A little bit?
No.
Or is it misogyny?
No. Not at all.
Is it the patriarchy?
I'm just saying that no, because our flip side is a man.
I like it hot.
A man wouldn't. Most men would not be comfortable in a frilly, pinked out, frilly. That's not saying nothing wrong. I'm just saying that most men
some
wouldn't
are.
be, and some women are. That's why I said that not most. So please, I mean that's not a. But I mean, that's just why a lot of women wouldn't be attracted to that, because certain kitchens are just can be a hostile environment during a big service.
So you just noticed that there's not many.
Or I noticed that they'll be in a certain station or until they show that they can handle
desserts and garmart. They're like putting the women on the desserts and the salads.
Because you know what I mean?
What I'm saying?
Hey, no, but some women who say, "Hey, I don't want that shit. I want to do this." Yes, and then some women say, "I want to be in the mix."
Like me,
get in the mix.
I like it about a fire. Like
exactly.
I'm a grill saute girl. You know what I'm saying? Put me where the heat is. I'm with the men. You know, I'm with the men.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that we've gotten through our main course, give me some tips for your recipe for success. Okay, for those out there listening that might be interested in opening their own restaurant, we briefly touched on this, but what are 3 things that they need first? If you're about to open a restaurant, these 3 things you need to have:
location, capital, good idea.
Okay. See, I would have said, like licenses your 360 to make sure that you can even legally operate. Because a lot of people out here, they be running businesses and they ain't got their health.
As far as the restaurant though, location one.
Location? And why is that important?
Because for one, just you want to be in a spot where you can be easily accessed.
Okay.
You want to be in a spot where...
Good parking.
Exactly.
Parking is so key.
And then nowadays, there's so many break-ins and stuff with cars and whatnot.
Safety.
You just want to be right. Safety, you know what I mean? So I would say location always one. Because you kind of want to have demographics from everybody to have accessibility to you if possible.
Yeah. And you want to make sure you're making a certain amount of money.
Exactly.
You know what I'm
Yes,
saying? Certain amount of money.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then what was 2?
Capital.
And always play with somebody else's money.
Exactly, as much as possible. Obviously lending institutions or family, friends, whatever. But, just where you can comfortably start, because it's not going to, unless you come up with like a super idea like slutty sauce and shit, you know what I mean? Where you can just have lines around the corner all day long, then, you have to, it's going to be a grind. And sometimes you're going to be coming out of your pocket for a while you're trying to keep things going.
And the third?
Right. And then a good idea, which means that, there's nothing new under the sun. But, when you put your perspective on
what
something. What
makes you different?
Right. Exactly. What's your sauce? What's your topping? What's the secret? Exactly.
What makes you different?
Right. And then with those 3, you got a combination for at least a good start.
Okay. And then for our palate cleanser. After you've been working and cooking in the kitchen all day, when you get home, what are you making to eat?
Believe it or not, I'm a noodles guy. I love when I was little, that's why I used to jazz up a bowl of ramen noodles with all type of shit I want in it, or ice cream with nuts and.
Okay, so either we got the salty or we got the sweet.
Exactly.
Okay, we got the ramen. Okay, I'm with that.
Yeah.
And then when you're cooking in the kitchen, what are you listening to? What's your vibe? Like your go-to? This is what I'm about to go to put on and get me in the zone.
It just depends, but usually nowadays I let my boys do that. They got to, but when I'm by myself, I believe it or not, I put on something I'm interested in on Netflix, or just mellow, just instrumental, nothing, no particular genre, just like something.
Okay, he want to be chill. All right.
Yeah, you know me.
Okay, and then for the dessert, can you tell me a little bit more about your nonprofit, Cool Kids?
Yes. When I was thinking about what kind of nonprofit I would want to do, and then when I thought about, my kids were young at the time, and they still were always around the kitchen, even if they weren't actually hands-on.
Right.
So it was
cooking.
Right. So I just felt like something that involved kids would always be, that's the future.
Right.
And then my thing with what we do now that I know the heights it can go and the money you can make, is really not, most people use the kitchen or service as a means to something else, or I'm doing this until this pops off. Right. But really, this is a viable way to earn a living. And if you start it early, you can really get to those heights fast. Okay. So that's why I just was like, Cool Kids Cook is a way where if I can do it, they look like me, talk like me. If I can have stories that I have and the experience that I have, then.
So is it something where you go in and you talk to kids and teach them some cooking skills, or do they come to you? Yeah,
well, eventually that's what I want. I want a place where it's an extra. I just picture like this cool ass brigade of young caterers who, you know what I mean? Like if it's a kids party, kids doing the cooking, but like serious, you know what I mean?
So essentially you need to brush off the dust on the nonprofit, because now you got a place set up. The kids can come and start doing it now. So we got to tweak the vision.
Yeah, because I do have to dust the part. You ain't lying. Because it's been on the table for so long. You just put it back in the front of my mind. That's so deep.
I just reminded you.
Yes.
We love it.
Wow.
Reminding you of the dream.
Wow.
When you tap into the inner child, it's the most important work that we can do. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to the kids.
Yeah, thank you. Know what I'm saying? Just put that back on my mind. That's
good. Because now I'm about to stay on you.
Yeah.
I'm about to be sending you voice notes. What you doing with
about
the cool
kid? Yeah.
I'm about to harass them, because I am definitely that friend. Okay, and so now for the outro, because we wrapping it up.
Yeah.
Okay. So besides Plated Lounge and Plated Pleasure Catering and Events, do you envision opening up like a Plated 2, or what's next for you? We got the plated plates cookbook in the work.
Well, I got a couple of ideas for some places. I've been looking at a few places, but sometimes I'm not in the business of rushing. A lot of times when you start doing that and you kind of trying to go too fast, shit blow up in your face. So I want to get us really, I finally got a real strong team coming together because and you can't be in more than one place. Right. So if you concentrate on this, you hoping that this is okay. While you're over here, you hoping that that's okay.
Right.
But I want to be where I know that this is okay, and I know that this is okay.
So you still strengthening the team a little bit before you move on.
And then concepts and ideas, I think it'll just happen when it's supposed to. Like I got an idea for obviously a couple of breakfast concepts. I got an idea for a tapas concept.
But you got to start first.
Exactly. True. But again.
But now with your spot, what you could do is pick a day where you test those ideas out.
Right. But that's what you're talking about. Exactly.
The space is built in for the test. You know what I'm saying? So he's about to be doing some things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'll be ready.
For my chefies out there that want to find you, where can they?
Instagram, chef_Aleem, ALEEM. The restaurant is Plated Lounge, PLATED Lounge. Shit, we located in East Point, Georgia.
Atlanta, shouty. Don't change.
Hey, I just want y'all to know I'm really proud of this lady. She's doing her thing real big, and y'all stay tuned. Y'all keep in touch, and y'all show a lot of support because I can see this going to be a big thing.
Oh, thank you. I didn't pay him to say that. Oh, I love you.